Congratulations, you have officially made it to the end of this series. We have covered a lot, and we wanted to take a second just to review some of the things that we went over. Make sure that if you haven't seen any of these videos, you go back and watch some of them. So the first thing we covered was what is a travel nurse, and essentially like defined kind of what that means. The second video was basically the players in the game. We talked about you and what it means to be in the compact, what the compact is. Then we talked about the hospital, the agency, and the recruiter.
In the next video, we talked about your agency, picking an agency, and some red flags to look out for. And following that, we also talked about how to find a recruiter and what to look for, red flags, and how to get yourself a really good one.
Video number 5 covered one of my favorite topics called the trifecta. And it basically talked about, you know, how to help find your next contract and the 3 things that go into it.
The next video was all about onboarding, which I've learned a lot about recently. This step is all about how you onboard with a new agency and all the things that are required for that process.
The next couple of videos were all about like the interview and acing it and how to accept contract offers.
Then the next video was yours truly, and it was all about housing and the different options, 4 different options that you have as a travel nurse when you're on contract.
Then we finally arrived on contract, and the next videos talked all about that first day finesse.
And then we got to get to the fun stuff, and that was what you can do when you're on contract. So that's a wrap, right?
No.
Oh.
No. Because now it's time to talk about what comes next. And surprisingly, you have to start thinking about your next contract right about the same time that you finally feel comfortable on that first contract. I used to think and remember that this time always came so fast. It just felt like we were, you know, settling in finally to an area, and then boom, we have to start thinking about the next area or an extension.
Let's talk about extensions. What if you really love a place and you want to stay there longer?
That's right. This is actually a very common thing to do in travel nursing, and it is really easy because essentially for you as the travel nurse, it doesn't really feel like all that different, but I know that behind the scenes, between the agency and the facility, there's a lot that goes on, right?
Yeah, there sure is. It's essentially a brand new contract. It's just maybe a little easier to get because you're already there, you already know everything, you know the people, and if they need help still, and you're a good nurse, they want you to stay.
That's right, and it's nice because all your compliance is pretty much done, right?
Yeah, you don't have to go through all the compliance again, but you do have to go through the process of drawing up a new contract.
Yeah, so expect to like have to sign something again for a new contract. And speaking of a new contract, this is also a great time to try to maybe change some things a little bit if you wanted to. Sometimes they do go up. I've had a few extensions where we did get more on the extensions. Sometimes they go down. I've had some of those as well.
It's fair to say that it can change either way, and be prepared for that.
That's right. But one of the things you can certainly ask for is like to shorten the contract. If you started in the first one you did with that facility was a 13-week contract and maybe you only want to do 8 or just a couple extra weeks. We've done that a couple of times just to make sure we hit travel destinations and times and weather. I think we've, even here in Arizona, I think we did 2 weeks once. That was the extension. It was just an extra 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But we still had to draw up a contract for it. Also ask for any requested time off just like you would for a regular contract.
Yep.
I mean, you can ask about floating policy or changing maybe to guaranteed hours or something like that. There's always room to ask because the worst that they can do is just say no, right? Hopefully you have made a great impression and they want you to stay, and that alone carries a lot of power behind it.
It's easier to extend you than it would be for them to get a whole new travel nurse in the door.
Now, there is something special here that let's say you really, really enjoy the facility and where you're working, you've enjoyed that time there and that kind of stuff, but maybe you're not feeling the agency that you're working with so much. And this is also, interestingly enough, an opportune time to switch agencies. Just because you're working in the same facility and wanting to extend a contract, you actually can have another agency represent you, right?
Yes, it's called an extension flip, and you can choose to go with a different agency if you aren't feeling it with the other agency, as John said. The only thing to keep in mind here is if you're going with an agency you've not worked with before, you are going to need to do the entire onboarding process again, and your recruiter can help you walk through all those steps, but you might have to do some things you've already done for that same contract with the new agency.
Right. Hopefully you've been paying attention to the videos and you've been keeping all your documents in a nice digital space like I've told you. And it does actually make it pretty easy because you already had all that stuff gathered together to onboard for the first agency. You can just send it to the next one. So if you do want to switch it up, this is a good time. There's one last thing I want to talk about when it comes to extensions, and that's the amount of time that you stay there. Generally, most places suggest you only extend 2 to 3 times at a facility. So 13 weeks, we're talking about not a full year. And the reason behind that gets into some tax stuff.
One thing that's really exciting about the end of a contract is you get to decide how much time off you want to take.
This is one of the best parts about travel nursing, in my opinion, is the not working.
It is. The not working part is really awesome. And in the beginning, John took, a week, 2 weeks, usually 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was enough time for us to move the RV to the next destination.
Yeah, but as we have traveled longer and we've been able to save and have a savings account, we've taken more and more time off in between. And I think last year you took 5 months off total throughout the year in between the contracts. It added up to 5 months total. So that's pretty amazing.
It was glorious, you guys.
Yeah, since you're not getting paid while you are not working, it's also good to keep in mind that first 2 weeks that you do work, you're not getting a paycheck. So you work 1 week and then you work all next week before you get that paycheck on the Friday or whenever the payday is. So you want to make sure that you are planning out, if you're taking a month off, that first 2 weeks, you're really taking 6 weeks off.
Fortunately, travel nursing is weekly, and so you work the first week, and then you get paid the next week for that first, and then they just kind of roll. Now, the nice thing about it is, once you end a contract, you're leaving, you get one more paycheck that week that you're off, that first week that you're off, which is kind of nice too. So you gotta really keep that in mind, like she said, to think about how much time you're gonna take off and the bills that need to get paid up until you get those next paychecks.
If your number one thing off that trifecta is location, you're gonna need to make sure that you have a license for that state. So if you're thinking of going to Alaska, Hawaii, California, all those states take longer to get your license, and you need to make sure that you are either planning in advance to get them, or you allow plenty of time between your contracts to get those. Pennsylvania is now part of the compact as of September.
Yes.
So that's it, right?
No. This is just like nursing. There is always more to learn. At some point, I want to do something about taxes. It is so key to this profession in terms of both the benefits of taxes in travel nursing, and it's how nurses largely make a good portion of their money, right?
Travel nurses, yes.
Travel nurses, yes, like win the stipends. The unfortunate thing is that neither Kristen or I are tax advisors. We cannot legally give you tax advice. We might know a decent amount of it, but it is not something we can put forth on a video to the masses.
We're working hard behind the scenes to secure a very important interview that I think will answer a lot of questions that people have about taxes.
That's right. I don't know when that's going to come. I'm hopeful in the next month or so, so stay tuned right here for a bonus video to the series. We will make sure we push it out to everyone when and if it does happen. I'm confident that it will, but I'm not sure when.
There's always so much more to learn, and we really love putting out this content for you guys. We want to help you in any way that we can. Make sure you check out our website. We have lots of information on unordinarypath.com. Reach out if you have questions. Comment on this video. If there's another topic that you would like us to cover, we would be happy to do so.
That's right. And stay tuned, because I fully envision a couple, maybe even other series, like a Travel Nursing 401, where we really dive deep into some of the secrets and the things that really isn't talked about that much. It's really nice to have an experienced travel nurse and a recruiter here to give you both sides of the picture. So we hope you'll stick around. Thank you again for being here. We really appreciate it. Finally, a very special thank you to Highway Hypodermics for helping sponsor this series. It is a fantastic place to find new and great information on up-to-date things in the travel nursing world. There's a wonderful Facebook page called Travel Nursing Newbies that you can go to. I know we are both on there to ask questions and just to learn all about this exciting and wonderful opportunity that we have in the nursing profession.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll
see you out there.
You make a good team.
We do make a good team.